Hello and welcome to this video. This is a move on from a video I've just recently posted for site-to-site VPNs using IPSEC IKEv2 with a GRE tunnel. However, in that video we used a PSK as our authentication between the two, whereas this time we're going to go a little bit more secure. We're going to use certificates. This one is it was quite hard to get working. Took a few attempts. I struggled to find information in the same setup that I'm going to show you today online already. So we have our two MikroTiks. These are actually going to be, if you've seen the other video, and I recommend you check it out because I'll go into more detail about the protocols and what's happening. This is going to be a quicker run through, just showing you the certificate part really. But essentially we've got the two MikroTiks in, they're actually in AWS. They're in two different regions. So we've got one in Australia and Sydney and the other in London in the UK. Both are public IP addresses, and we're just going to establish the IPsec tunnel across the two, across the internet. And then the IPsec tunnel, the GRE tunnel will then establish the middle. So I've already configured the GRE, obviously it's going to be down. I've got a VPN bridge on there which has an IP address, and on each side, and that's going to be the IP addresses that will form the IPsec tunnel. And then the GRE then has its own IP address. So again, in the other video I'll go into more reasons why I've done it this way, and the benefits and why you need to do it this way. But yeah, like I said, the difference is this time we will generate a certificate on our site A, if you like, which I'm going to use the Australian one, but it doesn't really matter. And then we will export that and pass that across to the other one, and then we'll use that certificate to initiate the security, the authentication. So I'll jump straight on to the MikroTiks now. So as you can see, this one here is my Australian one. So let's just actually give it a name just for a bit of clarity. So we call this CHR AU Australia, and then here we have my UK one. Again, we'll call that system identity CHR-UK. Easy. Right, we don't need this one. Okay, let's start off on our Australian one. Now we're going to start off with the actually I'll just quickly show you what I was just mentioning. If you haven't seen the other video, here's my VPN bridge. Oh sorry, I'm on the UK one, aren't I? I'm on Australia. There we go. IP addresses, there we go. So this is my VPN bridge here, 10.1.254.1. so this is what I've used previously in other videos where this has been a VPN server for clients, PCs, phones, that sort of thing. Whereas this time we're going to use it just to, so this could be a single IP address, /32 if you wanted. It could be a /30, doesn't really matter. And then yeah, that's on this interface, which is just a bridge, which is called VPN bridge. All my traffic goes out of this one, which is then natted behind a public IP address, but it's basically one-to-one NAT. So it's effectively like this public IP address is sitting on this MikroTik. Okay, let's get into it. So we go system certificates, and we're going to add our certificate authority. Again, if you're not familiar with how certificates work, the creation of them and all of that, I would recommend you checking out some of my other videos, or I'll put some links in the description about where to check those out. And I've done SSTP configurations where certificates are required. I've done IKEv2 server for Android devices. Again, you need to generate the certificates there. So, and there's also stuff on my website, which again I'll put links to, about how to about it more in detail about how certificates work. But effectively, what we do is we create what's called a certificate authority, and that will basically we create then client certificates, which is then approved by this one. So this is normally, if this was a public SSL one, this authority would be a publicly facing trusted authority. But again, we won't go into too much detail there. So basically create your CA, give it a common name. I just increased the date the days valid because default is just a year. Add an extra 0, and then for key usage we want key cert sign and control sign. Okay, so we okay that. We right click on that and we're going to self sign that one so it becomes our CA. Done. Okay, as you can see now it will be active. It's an authority, A for authority, K for private, and then T for trusted. Now we're going to add, we're going to add our client one. So we'll just call it cert. That'll do. Yep, and now we're going to client and server because this is going to be shared across both sides of the tunnel. We're going to use the same certificate. And now we're going to sign this using our newly created CA. Okay, start, done. Okay, cool. Now let's export our CA first as PEM. Okay, and we then go to files. We could download it, or because we're using MikroTik in Winbox, let's just drag it across. Okay, now we go to system certificates on this side. Let's import. Okay, we're going to call this cert-ca, and we want to select our cert from our files. Have a key on this one, and then import. There we are. So it's trusted, and its common name is CA. Sorry, its issuer is itself. So now we go back onto our primary one, or site A, or however you want to refer to it. Now we're going to export our client and server one. So we're going to export. This time we're going to use PKCS12, which will include the CA and the key. And then we add this time a passcode for encryption. We'll just encrypt it, and that will allow us to decrypt it on the other side. So just grab that one again and drag it across. There it is there. Import. Select the P12 one. So just cert. Again, if I'm running through this too quickly, there is again a link to a step-by-step guide on the website which has Winbox screenshots. It also has the CLI commands for the whole process, so don't panic about having to keep pausing the video. Hopefully you get the gist of it from this, and then if you want to follow along in detail and use the guide, it's probably a bit easier. Okay, so we now have our certificates. Right, let's get on and do our IPsec. So let's go IPsec. Right, we will create our profiles. Okay, we'll just call it profile 1, that's fine. Check that. So we just want 256. We want SHA-256, AES-256 for our hash and encryption. Diffie-Hellman group, we use 14, which is 2048. And then the rest is default. As I mentioned in the other one, I prefer to literally select the ones we want to use. There's no point having ones we don't need. That said, our peer. So our peer is just a common name. So -UK. We're going to use this address, which is our public address. Again, as I mentioned also in the other video, you can use a DNS entry. So if you don't have a static IP address, you could use the built-in IP cloud dynamic DNS name there, which would, if the IP address is changed, that's quite handy. Some manufacturers don't allow, for IPsec you have to use an IP address, so it's quite handy. Profile 1 and exchange mode IKEv2. Okay, and then we go to proposals. Again, we'll just call it proposal 1 will do. 256. We just want 256 there. That's fine. Keep it simple. And then policies. We go to So peer UK tunnel, we want the source IP. So this is our internal one. So this is what for our phase 2. The source address will be the whole subnet, the remote side. Okay, and then action level requires fine, proposal 1. Okay, and they should say no phase 2 because it hasn't established anything. Let's go now to do this side. So we go IPsec. Okay, we go again profiles. Let's just repeat this process. Okay, go peers up here. CHR-AU. Okay, we need this IP. Yeah. Profile 1. IKEv2. Okay, proposals. Let's go 256. 256. That. Okay. Policies. Tunnel. This time it's going to be the reverse. 0/24. 1, isn't it? Not 2. Okay. Action proposal 1. Okay. Now we need to set up our identities. Now this is where last time we used the pre-shared key feature and we just stuck in the secret there. However, this time we're going to go for digital signature, and this time the certificate is going to be the same for both ends. So we're using the one for this side and the remote side is going to be the same. And we're going to match by certificate, and then general policy is going to be port strict. Okay, now we just match this side. Certificate, port strict. Okay, apply that. Okay, that. Okay, just wait for it to come up. Established. There we go. So now, as I mentioned at the beginning, I've already created this GRE tunnel here, which is effectively, as you can see, it's running. I should have showed you that before, but that would have been offline because basically we couldn't reach either side. So I'll just show you on a terminal if I ping using the source, because I need to specify where we're coming from. Sorry. 1, I'm going to ping till 10 to 254. Okay. The other thing is, with IPsec, for it actually to establish a tunnel, you need to try and send traffic over it. So that could be anything from a ping, but because I had this GRE already sat there trying to connect, that brought up the tunnel for us. So that's just something I learned a long time ago whenever doing IPsec. If it's not coming up, just try and ping across it, and that hopefully, if you've done everything correctly, will bring it up. So again, this is set up on the other side, hence it's why it's running. Okay, and now this means that we can now give our GRE tunnel an IP address. So we'll give it 2 on this side. Just a /30 will do. GRE1. And then on this side, add 10.1.1.1/30. Okay. Now that means we can use these interfaces as gateways, as next hops for routes on either side. So we stick a route on the Australian side. We can then on here, we can say to get to that subnet, you point at this IP address, and now this, because it's reachable over the GRE. So we can just confirm we can ping, which again in the other video, I keep mentioning the other video, but it is relevant. That's itself, that's why. I did that test just to confirm it, but I will have other videos coming up where I will use this setup, and I will do some dynamic routing across the two. So I'll do BGP, IBGP, and OSPF probably, and then we'll perhaps add additional hops along the way so we can advertise routes across the whole network, and maybe throw in another VPN server to connect, other devices to. But yeah, for now, this should hopefully explain how we can use certificates for our encryption and authentication, which is obviously more secure than no one can find out just by knowing a passkey. Can't then form an IPsec connection to you. However, if you do know these IP addresses, you would then lock this down to accepting those connections from only those IPs. Whereas if it's a VPN server that you're advertising to clients, you don't know what network they're going to be on. So but then you'd probably use a different protocol for that, depending on the client you want to use. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Please comment if you've got any questions. If you have a struggle trying to set this up, please again comment, or head on to that website I mentioned. It'll be in the description. There's lots of other stuff in there might be of use. But comment on that article if you've got any problems, or contact me there. And if you've got any other ideas for videos or requests, then feel free to request them. But if not, please like and subscribe. It makes a big difference to making me want to make more videos. So, but if not, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.